going to have some introductions. We have a couple coaches online that we all work together with, Brenda Meller and her group. We're going to introduce them, then talk about some of our wins, if anybody's got any wins for the week. Then we'll have a very short presentation, then we'll have any Q&A for any job questions that you have. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and go back to the gallery view so we can all see each other. I'm going to spotlight a couple people and we'll have some introductions. So if you all want to just starting with Mindy and then Brenda and Kenneth and Sue and Linda, and just quickly introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do. These are colleagues of mine that are coaches, and they also help job seekers.
All right. Since I'm first, I want to congratulate Diana on borrowing Sue's pom-poms on her first foray into moderating one of these things. I host monthly calls, and we all support each other, which is such a nice community of coaches who we all are. We could be competitors, but actually we are all friends and colleagues, and we're all here just to support you. That's it. We just want to help you. If you have questions, please ask them. This is what we do every single day. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's already been invented. If you have questions, this is a great time to share with us, and I'm happy to help you. I'm going to pass it along to Brenda Meller, who's next in line.
I want to say again, congratulations to Diana for pulling this together. And gosh, look at this, almost amazing. We got 30 people on the call on her first call. So it's such a great thing to see, and so happy to support you. And I'm really happy because the job seekers who are coming along have another place to go. And you can see Diana's got her own flavor that will be on here. So my name is Brenda Meller. I am an independent marketing consultant who specializes in LinkedIn. I do work with both job seekers as well as solopreneurs and employees of organizations. And my area of focus is helping you to get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. I'm delighted to be here with you all, and I will turn the baton over to Kenneth.
Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to call Diana a colleague of mine right now. I'm a Lee Hecht Harrison brand specialist. I work with those in transition on their profiles and their resumes. It's very challenging when you're in job search. You need to have a community, a tribe, if you will, and I'm very happy to support Diana, and we all support each other. I actually put in the chat a link to my LinkedIn newsletter, which lists weekly networking events, so I definitely recommend you reach out to the people there. And if anyone has an event, let me know about it, because the goal is for us to share as much information as possible. And as Brenda alluded to, we are in co-opetition. We make each other better. I like it to being an all-star team. We're all stars in our own way. We all have different strengths and things we do well. So looking forward to seeing some of you again. Thanks again, Diana, for having this event, and Sue, take it away.
Thank you. I'm glad Mindy's using her pom-poms and beat me to welcome to Diana's very first session that she's offering for people. I'll say what everybody else has said. We're here for you. We find that people need time to ask experts what and how to filter all the information they've received, but also each of you provides support. I'll be looking at the chat. I try really hard to get the chat to engage, and in some meetings we have very lively chat exchanges. Looks like we're already seeing them. And can I just acknowledge Trisha's cheering and dancing? Thank you, Trisha. I appreciated that support with the pom-poms. I bring my pom-poms so that we remember to celebrate everything, including you showing up here. This is a huge step for some of you who haven't had the will maybe to get out of bed or to write your resume, rewrite your resume one more time. So let me pass it on to Linda. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. Let me add my thanks to and congratulations to Diana. This is a great thing. One of the things that I love about all of these groups is that we really are here to support all of you. We're here to give you tips, tricks, support, networking. We know the job search is hard, but it's so much easier when you have other people that you can talk with and you can share with and you can get ideas from. And that's what we're all here to help you with. So reach out anytime. We are here to support you, and I'm going to turn it back over to Diana.
Thank you. So what we're going to do now is something a little different for a few minutes that you might not have experienced in other job seeker groups. I am all about combining the techniques of mindfulness, meditation, and body, mind, and spirit internally with the external tactical steps of job search. So we're going to take just a minute or two and relax. What I'm going to invite you to do is to, where you're sitting right now, just sit comfortably in your chair. And if you'd like to close your eyes, you can. You don't have to, but we're going to take 4 deep breaths right now, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just inhale 4 times. 2, 3, and 4. And next, what we're going to do is just be mindful of our body relaxing. So once again, you can keep your eyes open or you can close them. Be comfortable where you're sitting, starting with the top of your head. Just relax the top of your head. Then your face, your neck, your shoulders, your arms, all the way down to your hands, your chest, your stomach area, your hips, your thighs, your glutes, your hamstrings, your knees, your calves, and your ankles and your feet. And just continue breathing in and out. And then open your eyes. So that's a little quick technique you can use at your desk. Certainly the breathing in and out that you can use at any time when you feel stressed, you feel tense, you're confronted with a situation that is making you nervous. I find this a very handy technique when I'm at the doctor's office, quite frankly, especially if I'm going to have any kind of procedure done. It really just helps to center you and bring you back. Perfect. We're going to talk about positive things today. So wins. Do we have anyone that would like to share any wins that you've had this week? Joanne, you can unmute.
So I have trying to redirect my connections, finding people in the healthcare industry because I'm trying to pivot into that. I came across a gentleman in Dallas and his company, he basically works with trying to reform the process of how the providers are getting reimbursed from the insurers. Providers are getting less. So what's happening, it's resulting in the fees being passed on to us.
Mhm.
So I reached out to him. I explained who I am, what I'm trying to do. And we talked for about 15 minutes earlier. And he gave me suggestions, take billing and coding course, ways that I could get my foot in the door and start making this pivot. And the suggestions were really great, but they also were completely aligning to what I had already had in mind as the best way.
Mhm.
So I just came away from that call with feeling really good that I've got now some steps to take to start moving forward in this. Thank you, Sue. So that'll be my next step, is to look at some of these websites. We said go to the website of the company he just started a job. If I find anything, let him know and he'll put in a word. We'll see. But at least I've got some steps to take.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm glad you had a good call.
Yeah.
All networking calls are not created equal. So some of them are very helpful. Some of them might not be. It's very akin to cold calling and sales. Bravo.
Thank you.
That's excellent.
Good way to start the weekend.
Yes, it is a good way to start the weekend. And that's what we want to be really mindful of today, is thinking about the wins that you've had this week, no matter what they were, revising up, putting in a new line into your LinkedIn profile, having an aha moment about your resume, meeting a great new contact for networking, finding a new company or two that could be potentially a great fit. Those are all wins to think about at the end of a week to keep you in a positive frame of mind for the weekend. Any other wins for the week? Okay, Chad. And then
So I had 2 phone screens this week for 2 different roles at 2 different companies.
Good.
One led to a first round interview, which I have this afternoon. And then hopefully the other one will also lead to a first round interview, although I probably won't hear about that until later today or maybe early next week.
Wonderful. And your dog is cute too.
Oh, thanks.
And Kay.
Thank you. I was part of the layoffs at Intel Corporation. 35% of my group was laid off. I was a contractor there for 18 years. And this week I had what I call a win. It's hard to get a FTE job at a high-tech firm right now. It's so saturated. And as a contractor, I understood that for many years, and that allowed me to stay at Intel. Hooked up with 2 more firms, contracting firms, and interviewed with them, showed my resume, and they said, yeah, right now we don't have anything, but we're excited to get you into the system. So to me, that's a win, just crossing my fingers.
That's great. I think the thing to keep in mind too about December, any groundwork that you're laying this month, even if they're not quite ready yet, we're not to January 1st yet. So fiscal years are ending, new years are going to be starting, and there's going to be starting to get a lot of activity going. We had a good jobs number in November with 227,000 jobs added. So you can imagine what could be happening for January once people sort through their budgets and they see and they feel more optimistic. The stock market is doing well. So keep watching that. And I would, network anything, any contacts you're making now, stay in contact with them, keep networking with them, and in January, then see what's happening there, see what they've got on their websites and things like that.
Yeah, that's my hope. Even my former employer will probably be getting requests in for employment from different groups at Intel, so I could always go back there. We'll see. Thank you.
Anyone else want to share any great wins this week or good steps forward? Sherilyn.
I had 2 interviews with the same company this week. A recruiter had reached out to me, and the first interview was with the vice president of sales, and it was slated to go 30 minutes, and we ended up going an hour and 45 minutes. It was just very fluid. The company checks off a lot of my boxes. The next day, I spoke to their director of sales enablement. And again, it was slated for 30 minutes and we went for 45 minutes and we've been messaging since. She was telling me how in the first interview, he was just raving about me. With my skill set, I would bring something to the sales team that they don't have right now. I consider that a win. It's channel sales, it's Cisco, Dell, IBM, it's hardware, software, it's remote, which I really like. I don't have to travel. The only concern I have is, and I talked to the recruiter about this, is I am asking for a little bit more than what they've already told me is a standard. But they also want me involved in the marketing team and also bringing on new partners for them. So my logic is, if I'm not just doing the channel sales, but I'm bringing on partners and involved on marketing, then I should be compensated for that. The VP of sales, he's out of the office today. He said we'll definitely touch base at the beginning of next week. So we'll see how it goes. But it made me, from a confidence perspective, because yes, in job search, it definitely impacts your confidence. It made me feel good that both of them had very complimentary things to say about me. And the gal that I met with yesterday, she said, I could learn a lot from you. And she's the director of sales enablement. From a confidence perspective. So of course, after that, you get your reject letters, but you have to focus on just the positive stuff. So that was my win for the week.
Other coaches, do you have any thoughts for Sherilyn as she continues her communications? Brenda?
The first thing I was thinking was regarding the salary. Now, do they know what your requested salary is?
The recruiter and the VP of sales already told me how they bring people in. It's very heavy on commission. It's 40% commission and very small salary. But I did talk to the recruiter yesterday of the increase on the monthly salary that I would like.
Do they know what your salary range is? I'm going to ask it again.
I communicated that to the recruiter yesterday.
Okay, so it was the first time they heard about it yesterday. Related to that, I'm just going to be like blunt and direct with this too. And I'm a Midwesterner, so I don't like being blunt and direct. So what they will pay you in the position should be a fair market rate. It shouldn't be what you think you deserve in the role. So when you're doing salary research, which you surely should be doing for your position, you should look up, there's a couple websites I use, salary.com, payscale.com, and glassdoor.com. I'll put those 3 names into chat: salary.com, glassdoor.com, payscale.com. go into those sites, type in the targeted job title, the targeted geographic area, any items about the type of company, the type of industry, the number of employees, revenue. Put in as much information as you can. Do not put in gender, especially if you're female, because you'll get a lower salary. And then click on calculate. Anything you can put in, education, number of experience, whatever. So that's the market rate. So think about if you go to the grocery store and you go to the dairy section and you get a carton of eggs, you know what the market rate should be for eggs. You know if it's high, you know if it's low.
Yeah.
So regardless if the eggs think that they're better than every other eggs because they're brown and speckled and blue, it doesn't matter. What's the market rate for eggs? So they should be paying the market rate for the position. Now, if you feel like you're outside of the range on the higher end because you bring more experience than they're asking for in the position, then you have some grounds for negotiating that. But I always use this technique when I would go into a job, even if I felt like they were going to undercompensate me, I would always come up to the salary conversation with, when they made the offer, is that number firm? I would just ask the question, I'm really excited about this. Is that number firm? And wait to see what they say. And then when they come back and say, what do you want? If the conversation hasn't already happened. Well, based on my research, I've looked up salary.com, PayScale, Glassdoor. It appears that a marketing director in Metro Detroit for an employee organization with 250 or more at a revenue of 50 million plus should be paid at a rate of 90 to 110,000. Based on where I'm at and the number of years of experience that I bring in, the market rate would be a minimum of 115. And then you stop talking and you don't say anything, which feels very uncomfortable because you want to babble and explain and grovel, and you don't. You just stop talking and you see what they say.
You said that so eloquently. You
And then-
really did.
And it's only happened once where they said, I'm sorry, that's the max we can give you. And then we move into the other conversation, which is, okay, I see that you're offering 2 weeks benefits. At a person with my level of experience, I'm typically coming in at 4 to 6 weeks of vacation. I'm sorry, vacation pay. Would you be able to do 3 weeks of vacation? Sure, we can do that. Okay, the other thing is medical benefits. I know you usually wait 30 to 60 days, but I'm going to have to pay COBRA, which is another impact on my expenses. Would you be able to start that the first business day of next month? Like, these are the things that really they don't really cost them money, and they don't impact the salary. So if you're going to give them the salary, if they can't go higher on that, then they should be able to come back to the negotiation with something else, more vacation, benefits sooner, things like that.
Hey, Brenda, you just answered the question I was about to ask. My father, he was in HR, and he always said, and I know things have changed over those years, but he always taught me that, yeah, it's not about just the salary. It's the total compensation package. I would be very happy to take a lower salary if they want to pay more toward the health insurance. Or if you can work remotely and you don't have to spend the money on gas.
There's two pay plans. You can go 100% commission and get 50%, or you can, and you're a 1099, or you can go in as a W-2 and get this small base, but then you're a W-2, you don't have to deal with all the tax stuff, but then you only get paid 40% of the commissions. So I think that's the area I need more insight.
That you may want to talk to, if you have someone that you work with on your taxes, talk about that for your particular state and whatnot. The other thing to consider on 1099, would you have any flexibility with that? Because when you're 1099, you're an independent contractor, you're not completely owned by the company.
Right.
So would you have that flexibility to do anything on the side, which could then bring you more income and bridge that gap in between what you're getting for them? And that's something to think about as 1099, because really you're an independent contractor when you're 1099.
Yeah.
But how much are they going to own you of your time?
Okay, that's a good point.
Because then that factors into it. You could put together a mosaic, what I call, of work, doing different things, and you might be better off with the flexibility that way, just to figure out how you're going to manage your health benefits. But that's another option too. Brenda, you raised a hand?
No, thank you.
Sherilyn, could you ask to talk to an employee who's done both scenarios, the 100% commission versus the 50%, or whatever the two scenarios? Could you ask for, especially if this is a unique situation, like hearing from someone who's in the role, who's getting, they'll give you a good employee for both of those if they do give you some names.
Thank you for that recommendation. The director of sales enablement, she said, Sherilyn, if you want to talk on Friday, if you want to talk on Monday, let me know. I can point you in the right direction if I don't have the answer. So let me get an employee that has gone both directions. Thank you. Thank you for the recommendations, everybody.
You're welcome. We have another good question from Sherry in the chat. She doesn't have audio visual today on her computer, but she has an interview on Monday and she's starting to come down with a cold. She's wondering, should she keep the meeting or reschedule it? She wants to keep it, but don't want to be eliminated because she showed up with a cold. Coaches, what do you think on that? I think it depends on how off you feel. But Brenda?
I don't want to dominate. I see Sue waving too, but I was just thinking like today's only Friday.
Yeah.
If your interview is not like at 9 a.m. Monday morning, I would wait till 9 a.m. Monday morning and over the weekend, chicken soup, orange juice, plenty of sleep, plenty of fluids, lay on the couch, don't do anything. Try to just let your body work through the cold symptoms, see how you feel on Monday. Can you hop yourself up with cold medicine and show up? And even if you are still sounding a little bit nasally, what I would do if I showed up in person is let the person know if they reach out to shake your hand. If you don't mind, I'm just getting over a cold, I'll elbow bump you. Be kind about it. I'm feeling better. I just don't want to pass the germs, especially with the holidays coming. As long as you feel like you can be human. If you're going to be hacking up and you look like death warmed over, then you should reschedule it.
And just for three quick things, Mucinex knocks stuff out really fast, echinacea and elderberry.
And I just saw somebody posted about Zycam.
Fabulous. Yeah. Get that,
yeah.
pump that stuff
Highly
in
recommend.
today, tomorrow. Start pumping it in. I think you can take them every 4 hours, or some of them are every 12 hours. Just hit it.
Cold,
It's
yeah.
This is a part of me that many of you don't know, but I actually started out life as a nurse and a nurse practitioner. So I am the advisor for the family now. Here's what I know, exactly what Brenda said. And remember, generally cold symptoms are going away after 3 days, 48 to 72 hours. Here's what I would recommend. It sounds like it's in person, Sherry. Go in with a mask on and let them know ahead of time you are going to protect them, because, and what you can say is, I'm going to come in a mask. It is not COVID. It is, I'm just getting over a cold. And then say, when you get in the room, if it's large enough, I'm going to walk back. If there's 3 or 4 feet of space and you're not yelling and screaming, which you won't be in an interview, you could take your mask down and be friendly and just be careful. Turn a little to the side, maybe when you're talking. But also, it helps you emphasize to people, I want to be careful of this because this is a priority for me. So what Brenda said, yes, as long as you're feeling great and up to the very last minute, since it sounds like you're going in. But don't be afraid to use the mask is what I recommend if you feel comfortable doing that. Thanks, Diana.
You're welcome. Linda?
And I'm going to go along with all of the things that people have said. I just want to reemphasize it. Obviously, the job is important to you, Sherry. So don't tell them now that you want to stop unless you're really feeling that bad. I would wait until Monday morning. What time is your appointment on Monday? You can put it in the chat. In any event, I would wait until Monday, see how you feel, and then reach back out to them. If you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're not feeling well, then you need to reschedule. But the suggestions that you've gotten, I think, will really help. And the fact that you are interested enough in the job to protect not only them, but to be able to come in with your ideas about what you can do. You can also suggest, by the way, if you're feeling that bad, that you might want to turn it into a virtual interview as opposed to an in-person one. Again, as a way of being able to not only continue with the conversations, but to protect them. And I love that statement, Sue. You want to be able to protect them because that's important.
Perfect.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yes. So before I do my quick presentation, I just wanted to ask if anybody had any other burning questions that have come up this week while we have all the coaches here together and we have an open forum to help anybody, things that you have going on that have come up as questions that you want to talk about or ask questions. Feel free to just raise your hand. Good. I'm glad everybody's in a good spot here on Friday. So one of the reasons that I chose Friday for this meeting, one is because I'm piggybacking off of Brenda's meeting on the first Friday, her job seeker call. And so I'm the second Friday. What I wanted to do was talk a little about December, how we can go from stressed and confused to motivated and in control of your job search for January 2025. This is my story in 5 pictures. How I started Mindful Job Alignment My mother was on a journey with Alzheimer's and she passed in January of 20. It was a pretty tough time. And during that time, moving to picture number 2, really savings was outside of my grasp. It was a very challenging financial time for me, and it just didn't seem to get righted. And moving to the third picture, which I really think sums up the essence of being downsized, I went through multiple corporate downsizings from 2004 to 2014, went through 3 rounds of with a couple different companies. And while I found that the tactical steps, the resume writing, the interviewing prep, all of that, the LinkedIn was fantastic, I was wanting something more in terms of the body, mind, spirit support. So I went on to my own personal journey. I studied meditation and mindfulness, Reiki, a lot of Buddhist philosophy, as well as being active in my church because I was singing in a church choir at that point, and really went inward to make sense of what was happening because there was just a lot of things caving in on me at that point in time in my life. And what I was looking for was really in the 5th picture, which is Zen. I was really looking for Zen. And what I did was my mess really became my mission, so to speak. I went back to school and completed my doctorate in holistic coaching. And my dissertation, I wrote A Mindful Approach to Job Search, where I was overlaying these body, mind, spirit techniques with the tactical side of job search and incorporating the both of them and teaching people how to do that. So since I received my doctorate in 2021, I started the website, started the company. I was involved in a book, Mission Matters, Volume 10. It's on Amazon through Mission Matters. That's Adam Torres, who's the president of Mission Matters. I was one of 25 entrepreneurs that wrote a chapter, and my chapter is chapter 10. I wrote on understanding the grief caused by career transitions, where I applied Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 steps of grief, and I've overlaid that over job search transitions, as well as a study by McKinsey that talks about the transitions that go on with that. I have the blog on my website. You can also go to my website and read it, but very pleased to be affiliated with Mission Matters. My philosophy really is, I think there's a myth about job search that it's only an external process. We get so caught up in the external, which is what I call the tactical, which are all the things we know about: resume, networking, LinkedIn, job search groups, interviewing, interview prep, volunteer. We get caught up in that, and we need to take time out to continue to have a good structure for the mind, body, spirit aspect, which is reconciling that transition, gratitude, mindfulness, creating space at home just for yourself, just to work on the job search, just to be able to incubate ideas for yourself where you can go and be in peace. Reading, meditating, journaling, identifying your values and creating a job value based on those values, job search action plan, and of course, managing the manifestation. One of the other pieces that I do work with people on, we do discuss the financial aspect of looking at how long you can be in the job search. That's very important because landing is beyond your control with them making a decision, and you have to understand what your timeline is. So that's an overview of what I do. What I really wanted to talk about was how we can maximize the month of December. Planning really goes beyond just listing things to do. It's really related to the mindset, your headset, where you're at, and how you're going to plan. December is an excellent month for not only networking externally, but it's also a great month for going internal. We have the shortest day of the year coming up on the winter solstice on the 21st of December. It's also a month with a lot of darkness in it before the light in spring. So metaphorically, you could really use that time to regroup, look at what worked, look at what you want to work on and what you want to change, and what new communities do you want to bring into your life to do that. And you're really thinking about how are you going to stay in a positive frame of mind to be able to plan out what's coming next year. Of course, December is a really good month for networking. We are at the 13th of December right now. So I would highly suggest looking at any industry events, any alumni gatherings, holiday gatherings that you find out about that you can go to in person. The key is to know how you're going to connect with people and what you're going to say. So refining that elevator pitch, knowing about your 1 or 2 minute commercial for presenting yourself to new people. Also, who are you going to reconnect with? What places could you go where you can reconnect with people in your industry? What's going to be your interaction strategy for December? That's something to really ponder. Brand. We all don't always think of ourselves this way, and this is something that Brenda really works on a lot with LinkedIn, but what is your personal brand? We all are a walking brand of our skills, of our accomplishments, of our work history, of our hobbies, the things we're interested in. So we really need to know how to present ourselves, and how can you continue to tweak your materials that show you off in a very positive light, and how can you enhance your interaction on LinkedIn to do continued networking, but also enhancing your brand. So think about what are going to be your next action steps to enhance your brand in your job search. There's a lot of power in numbers. I want to speak to this for just a minute of something that I tried this week that I heard about that has really made a huge difference for me on LinkedIn, but there's massive powers in numbers. The reason I put up the slide globally is to just think beyond your local area. Think about the United States, and then think about maybe people that might be working an expatriate job overseas or something like that. The world is actually very small, and it's only really a matter of difference of time differences to be talking to other people in other parts of the world. But do you know how to expand and leverage the network that you have? And what steps are you going to take to increase networking? And I want to tell you a very quick little story that I heard about doing a search in LinkedIn of a job title and a people search. And then you will have a number of people that will show up under that. Sometimes if you want to, it could be thousands or millions of people, quite frankly, because of the size of LinkedIn. But if you want to filter that down a little bit more specifically using the filters, you will come up with a list of people and start going through them and click on their profiles and see how many followers they have, and start picking people that have at least 5,000 up to maybe 200,000 followers that you would like to follow. And when you start following the people who have a lot of followers, and we have some people on this call who have a lot of followers. Brenda's one of them, Kenneth's one of them, so is Mindy, so is Linda and Sue, have a lot of followers. You want to look at people within your industry and start following people that have a lot of followers. And then you start commenting on their posts. What's going to happen? Your thoughtful comments about industry things are going to catch the eye of the other people in that followers network who are in that industry. So it's a great way to really bring the world within your grasp. The other thing we want to talk about and think about this month is, what are your priorities for 2025? And did you know that most people actually do procrastinate on a job search, and it really has nothing to do with lack of time? It's more emotionally based. There's a good practice of putting regularity into your job search because it boosts productivity and it prevents the burnout. That's something to think about there. And just real quickly, breaking down the mindful job alignment path that I teach really is in 8 parts, but it can be broken down into 3 areas. The first being mindset, the second being branding, and the third being job search action plan, learning about the employment landscape, adjusting to that transition mentally and emotionally, where you might still be blocked, even if your transition was a couple of months ago, creating that space and having that place you're going to go, either in the home or outside, to be able to incubate your ideas, creating your brand around a personal vision and your accomplishments and your skills that you want to move forward with, and thinking about, do you want this to look like W-2 employment, consulting, a mosaic of work? What do you want this to look like? We talk about incremental income as well, and then how to put those action steps together into an action plan. And that's how I work. Where I've gotten this idea really is from, I have a background in the musical performing arts. I know a lot of professional musicians, and how they live is through a mosaic of work. If you think how a mosaic is put together with little different pieces of glass and whatnot, you have a base job, you work on other things you can do with your skills, your teaching, other hobbies you can teach people, that you can really build multiple streams of income to move forward. And that way, if you are a W-2 employee and then this happens again, you're not completely caught off guard without income coming in. So that's one of the things I'm really bullish about and I talk a lot about. So in closing, what I want to remind you is that, believe it or not, your job transition does not need to hurt. And I can show you how it can not hurt and you won't be in pain. I'm very glad to get started into this realm and make this career pivot. I was in customer success for the last 14 years. And prior to that, I was in national account management. I've always been in corporate. So you can take the girl out of corporate, but you can't always take the corporate out of the girl, so to speak. I've worked with a lot of different companies. I've called on a lot of national retailers. And I've been in the software realm for the last 14 years, servicing the apparel, CPG, and retail industries. And I have a lot of contacts in those industries if anybody's looking for that. But I wanted to pivot into the career space because I know how painful job search can be. I come from a little different frame of mind because I've been a job seeker so many times, and I want to take those skills that I've learned and then help other people. So that's why I've started all this, and a little bit about Mindful Job Alignment. So for the job seekers on the call, you are in good company with this team of coaches. We're all interconnected and we're here to help you. We want to see you land as quickly as possible. We all have programs available. We all work with people, and we're happy to share our expertise. I'm committed to providing a space on Friday that's a safe space for sharing and that it's supportive. Of course, people all want to land. We do want to get that income coming in, but we also need that support. You just need people who can support you and you're emotionally for what you're going through. And there's other things happening. We can certainly, through our referrals, put you in contact with people.
So much wealth of information to take in.
There is a huge thing with that mind, body, spirit. It's critical. Mindset is critical in job search. And I think when you look at a lot of the postings on LinkedIn and you look at the pain some people are in, I feel very bad because it didn't have to get that way. If you know how much time you have when you first start this, based on your income, based on your financial status and your security, then you know what your timeline is. Trying to land another full-time job really depends on how much money you made in the industry you're in, because you can be out a month for every 10,000 that you earned. I was told that years ago. And it depends on your industry now. That timeline's getting longer for tech. They're out almost 8, 9, 10 months. The average time, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is 3 weeks, which is 5.5 months. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, can you sustain yourself at least through 5.5 months, 6 months? Because the unemployment usually only goes 5.5, 6 months. So that's the first question. And then from there, you have to start filling in and figuring out how you're going to have additional income to support yourself. And that tells you how long your job search is going to be. So there's a lot to think about. And that's what we talk about.
The ideas, lots of support. I love it. And I'm going to remind everybody, if it's okay with you, Diana,
sure,
that you want to make sure that you're connecting with everybody who's here.
Yes.
You've got a couple of people who've got some ideas for you and some ways of providing you with additional support. One of the things you can do is go up to the top of the chat bar, and where it says the Mindful Job Alignment Job Seeker Support Group, you'll see 3 dots. If you click on the 3 dots, it'll tell you how you can save the chat so that you can go back and connect with any of us, all of us, and get some of that support as well. I think it's been a great call, Diana. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Great. I've got your emails. And I'm not spamming anyone. I'm just sending out job tips. And as I get that ramped up, and please do visit my website, mindfuljobalignment.com. I'm sprinkling in job search tips that I feel are important there. And I'm following a number of subject matter experts on the career search. And so when I hear good tips from them, I like to pass that on. This one about the followers was one of the best things I've heard in a long time, about who to follow. It has really increased my communication on LinkedIn exponentially over the last week. So I can only imagine what it would do when you're doing it in your industry and thoughtfully commenting on business topics, establishing yourself as a subject matter expert in those areas. I think that's important. That if you spent the time doing that 3 to 4 times a week, and LinkedIn people say Monday through Friday to focus. I've done things on Sunday, which have been very productive as well. There's a lot of people on Sunday, but still, if you're following people in your industry that are movers and shakers and thought leaders and whatnot, and you start putting in thoughtful comments and sharing things about your industry and innovation that's going on in your industry and forward-looking topics, people are going to start following you and you're going to start getting noticed. And you just need to schedule it in, like Brenda says, about 15 minutes a day, and make thoughtful comments. This is a social media platform. So whenever you're posting on any social media platform, you're developing a social media footprint, and you want to make sure your footprint is clean. You don't have muddy shoes. When you're interviewing with somebody, they're going to look at your social footprint, even if you don't give them the link to, well, LinkedIn, you probably would, but you be very careful on any of the social platforms about what conversations you're engaging in and what you're replying with, because it will stay with you. It's called a reputation. The reason I bring this up is I see a lot of people really having a tough time in their job search, and they put it all out there. And honestly, people are going to feel sorry for that person, but that's not necessarily going to get you a job. What's going to get you noticed is what you're going to do to contribute to your industry and to your company. And so be very careful about the posts that you reply to and then the posts that you are interacting with. It's a journey, and it goes up and it goes down, but you will get through it. And you will find the right people that will meet you on your path, that will lead you to something better. You will then have another part of your journey starting when you land. And hopefully it'll be very positive and you'll be very happy in it. But it will happen. And it probably will happen when you least expect it.